Welcome to Astrology of the Unknown,
a true crime astrology podcast.
I'm your host, Joseph Mulhollan.
And I'm your other host, William Holloway.
It's been a little bit since we've recorded an episode. Things are crazy.
Yeah, we've been busy, both busy. You had a birthday. Happy birthday, belated here.
29 again.
29 again, somehow.
Yeah, just work's been crazy. I'm working on a new record.
Yeah.
And I know you've been really crazy, busy with other podcasts, and you just launched a class that I actually am taking. We had the first session, I guess, this past Saturday. It was so nice to kind of like get a little bit of background on things. And I think I've said this before, but like I don't know a whole lot about astrology, which is crazy considering that I'm a part of this podcast, but I'm hoping to learn more, and I feel like this is a really good introductory class. So excited to learn more. So yeah,
it was a great first class.
So anyway, so the episode that we're going to do today, the topic that we're going to do today, we kind of went back and forth on it because it is a kind of a sensitive topic. It's something that is, we talk a lot about cold cases and stuff, but like this is an active investigation and it's very new. It's in the media right now, as much as it can be in the media, considering how like drenched our news cycle is with so many other things that are going on. But we decided ultimately to do this topic because we feel like we just want to help, and we wanted to approach this with care and respect to everybody involved. So not that we don't normally do that, but like I said, we're not talking about active cases. Usually we're talking about things and things that have kind of where the dust has settled, and that is not the case in this situation. So we just wanted to just say that as a disclaimer. And of course, if anybody has any information about this, please reach out to the proper authorities, because I think we would all really like to see this case get solved. Of course, we are going to be talking about the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. So
I would just wanted to say real quick before we get started that, to your point, we really went back and forth. I was at first like, no way, I don't want to do that. And then I was like, let's wait. And then I was like, let's do it. Let's not. We just, it's important. I want everyone to know that we really talked it out, thought about it. And ultimately, I kept looking at the astrology around it, and I was like, let's do it. Let's do it, because I think we do a good job of paying respect to parties involved. And this is an active case. I mean, it's only been not even 2 months.
Yeah. I do think that in addition to us having the shared desire to help where we can, I think that this is also a really great opportunity to see how accurate the astrology is.
Yeah.
So we're just going to jump right in. I'm really just going to talk about the timeline of events. I'm not going to get too into backstory of who these people are, but of course, if you haven't been paying attention to the news, and if you don't watch NBC News, then I'll give you just a little bit of background. So Savannah Guthrie is an American journalist and attorney. She's the co-anchor of the NBC News morning show called Today. It's a position that she has held since July 2012. Savannah Guthrie joined NBC News in September 2007 as a legal analyst and correspondent, regularly reporting on trials throughout the country. And if you've been paying attention to the news, which I know is hard these days given everything that's going on in the world, like I said earlier, Savannah's mother, 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie, disappeared from her Tucson, Arizona home between late January 31st and early February 1st of this year, 2026, with authorities treating it as a targeted abduction. Evidence includes a cut security camera, a missing person report on February 1st, and DNA evidence confirming blood on Nancy's porch. So Nancy was last seen at her home in the Catalina foothills just outside of Tucson on the evening of Saturday, January 31st, 2026. She was dropped off by her son-in-law at approximately 9:50 p.m. Her son-in-law's name is Tommaso. Oh man, I'm really going to butcher this name. Tommaso Cioni. So Cioni, who is married to Nancy's other daughter, Annie, is the last known person to have seen her. Guthrie did not arrive for a scheduled live stream of a church service the following morning, prompting concern. A member of her church contacted the family to report that she had not appeared as expected. So relatives went to check on her home around 11 a.m. when they searched the house and the surrounding property and found no sign of her. Around noon, the family called 911 and reported Guthrie missing to the Pima County Sheriff's Department. Deputies responding to the residents noted that Guthrie's personal belongings, including her phone and other essential items, were still inside the home. Given her limited mobility and the absence of any indication that she left voluntarily, investigators immediately regarded the situation as more than just a routine missing person report. Here's the timeline of events starting on the evening of January 31st, 2026. So at 5:32 p.m., Nancy Guthrie takes an Uber to her daughter Annie's home for dinner from her house. At 9:48 p.m., Guthrie is dropped off by her son-in-law, Annie's husband, Tommaso Cioni. God, I hope I'm saying that right. At around 9:50 p.m., Guthrie's garage door is closed. Cioni reports driving off at this time. So that's it for Saturday. So Sunday, February 1st, 2026, at 1:47 a.m., a doorbell camera at Guthrie's home is disconnected by a masked and gloved individual. At 2:10 a.m., motion was detected. And I will say on February 10th, the FBI did release footage recovered from the Nest camera back-end systems showing an armed individual tampering with the device. But we'll get to that in a minute. At 2:28 a.m., Guthrie's bedside pacemaker monitor misses its scheduled transmission. So it was kind of like a Bluetooth, a Bluetooth activated device. So it pinged periodically. But because she clearly wasn't next to the monitor, it missed that pinged transmission.
Right.
Which is an indicator that she had been abducted at that time or prior to that time. So now we're going to skip ahead to around 11 a.m. that morning. A churchgoer calls Guthrie's family to report that she did not attend the church service. At around 11:56 a.m., relatives arrive at Guthrie's home and discover that she's missing. At 12:03, they call 911. And at 12:15, deputies from the Pima County Sheriff's Department arrive. So when the Pima County Sheriff's Department arrives, they notice that there is blood on the front porch. On February 2nd, the Pima County Sheriff's Department officially announces that Nancy Guthrie has been abducted. Authorities announce the case has shifted from a search operation to a criminal investigation. Now, on that same day, KOLD TV, which is a CBS affiliate in Tucson, reported that it had received a letter demanding payment for Guthrie's release. CBS reported that investigators reviewed the letter, took it seriously, and shared it with the FBI, though authorities declined to confirm whether it was sent by someone actually holding Guthrie. The note was said to contain specific details about Guthrie's home and what she was wearing on the night she disappeared, and investigators requested that its contents not be publicly disclosed. So that information has not been shared. On February 3rd, DNA confirms that the blood on the porch belongs to Nancy Guthrie. Sheriff Chris Nanos states that evidence recovered from Guthrie's house indicates that a crime has taken place in the home, meaning that the home is now considered a crime scene and homicide investigators become involved. On that same day, TMZ reports that they received an alleged ransom note demanding millions of dollars in Bitcoin, including a specific cryptocurrency address and a deadline. On February 4th, the Guthrie family releases a plea for her return and a $1 million reward is announced. On February 5th, Henry Levin, founder of TMZ, claims to have received a ransom note relating to Guthrie's disappearance as well, allegedly stating, "You will have no way of contacting me," quote unquote. That evening, Levin claims that he receives another ransom letter indicating that Guthrie is still alive, but scared, in quotes, and that she is aware of the demands being made and that this will be their only communication. Levin also emphasizes that he and his staff were unsure of the validity of the letter. It's unclear whether these notes were written by a person involved in the actual disappearance of Guthrie or if they are hoaxes. And I think that it's important to note that there were also people, I'm not sure what day it happened, so it's not in the timeline, but I did want to mention, considering that we're talking about whether or not these ransom notes were legit or hoaxes, there was also reporting that people in Nancy Guthrie's neighborhood or people were spotted in Nancy Guthrie's neighborhood going door to door claiming to be members of the FBI, and that was later to be found to be untrue. So, you know, keep all of this in mind when we're talking about these letters and all that stuff. Like there are definitely people out there that really want to rubberneck these
Oh yeah.
these kinds of tragedies. So just keep all of that in mind. So the Pima County Sheriff's Department acknowledged that it was aware of reports concerning ransom notes and stated that all tips and materials were being forwarded to detectives working with the FBI. Also on February 5th, a California man was arrested on federal charges alleging that he had posed as an abductor and demanded ransom from the Guthrie family. Authorities stated that the scheme was unrelated to the other ransom demands that had received wide publicity. And then on February 6th, a second ransom note is sent to that TV station, KOLD TV. It's unclear what was said in it, though. I just found and I read it in a couple of different places that a second ransom note was sent to the TV station. On February 7th, in a video released by the Guthrie family, Savannah Guthrie states that they're willing to pay. And then the following day, it was reported that the ransom demand was $6 million with a deadline of 5 p.m. on February 9th. On February 8th and 9th, investigators again searched Nancy Guthrie's home, including her septic tank. On February 10th, FBI Director Kash Patel released 4 black and white images on X showing a masked and armed intruder wearing gloves and a backpack outside of Guthrie's home. The Pima County Sheriff's Department issued the same statement. Investigators reported that the intruder attempted to tamper with the video doorbell by attempting to knock it off with light taps. And when unable to, he subsequently covered the lens with foliage from a potted plant. However, Patel stated that data from the device had been successfully recovered. He also said the intruder was armed with what appeared to be a gun placed improperly in a holster located over his crop. Later the same day, the FBI released 2 videos captured by the doorbell camera. In the evening of February 10th, another person of interest was detained following a traffic stop in Rio Rico, Arizona, which is about 60 miles south of Tucson. The Pima County Sheriff's Department and the FBI executed a search warrant for the property and vehicle by this person and that belonged to this person. On February 11th, the search concluded and the individual was released without charges. Sheriff Nanos said the individual was determined to not be involved in the disappearance. On February 12th, based on the footage, authorities released additional details about the suspected kidnapper's appearance, indicating an estimated height of between 5'9" and 5'10", an average build, a black mustache, and a 6.6 US gallon Ozark Trail hiker pack backpack. So he was wearing a backpack. And,
Right.
you know, the description is like 5'9", 5'10" is like the average height of an adult man. So,
Yeah, it's pretty
but,
basic.
okay. But, he did have a black mustache, which could have been a fake. I mean, who knows? On February 13th, the Pima County Sheriff's Department began an operation at a residence about 2 miles away from Guthrie's house. Two people were removed from the residence, which I guess means that like they were doing kind of a stakeout at somebody's house, so they like had to get the people who lived in the house. They'd like remove the people who lived in the house. I don't know. It's weird that it's weird that I read about this because last night I actually watched that episode of The Golden Girls where, sorry, this is such a tangent, but I watched that episode of The Golden Girls where they get these new neighbors that are like diamond thieves, and
Yeah.
the FBI has to like do a stakeout in their house, and Dorothy falls in love with like one of the people on the team, and the younger guy on the FBI team is actually George Clooney.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Classic.
and he gets
Classic.
shot, and like yeah, it's a whole thing.
Hmm.
But anyway, so like I said, the two people were removed from the residence where the sheriff's department was doing their stakeout, and the roads in the area surrounding the residence were closed to the public for about 4 hours. One of the people removed from the residence was taken in for questioning and released by the following day. I'm not sure why. Around the same time, law enforcement investigated a gray Range Rover in the parking lot of a nearby Culver's restaurant. The vehicle was seized and towed away. Again, they're not releasing any information, so we have no idea like why.
Right.
On February 18th, Google announced that it was trying to extract additional footage from various home cameras. I am assuming cameras that belong to the neighbors, or
Yeah.
maybe Nancy Guthrie had like other cameras. I don't know.
Probably the neighbors in the neighborhood. I'm sure
Yeah,
there are many of the people in the neighborhood. If not everyone should probably, I would think it's a rich neighborhood. They probably all have some Ring camera situation.
yeah, yeah. And then we're going to skip ahead to February 24th. So on that day, Savannah Guthrie released another video announcing her family's offer of a $1 million reward for information that assists in Nancy's recovery, with the family's understanding that she was possibly already dead, although they did remain hopeful. Around the same time, they also donated $500,000 to the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children as a way to support other families going through similar situations. Now, the investigation does, it's like I said, it's active. Um, the FBI is involved. They're focusing on potential suspects. What we do know is that somebody took Nancy Guthrie from her home forcibly. Uh, and, due to mobility factors and various health conditions, it's clear that she was taken against her will because she she has various health diagnoses that rely on daily medication for her to
Right.
stay healthy. She also has a pacemaker. So, she has a heart condition. So if she had left on her own accord, she clearly would have taken her medication.
Right.
She did have mobility issues, so she couldn't walk more than like 50 yards. So, she didn't leave on foot. So somebody must have taken her.
Hey, there's got
So,
to be video. I
yeah.
mean,
So at the time that we are recording this, we are on, I believe, day 39 of Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. There have been 2,400 anonymous tips related to this case.
wow.
We have no idea what those tips are. Again, like they're not making any of this stuff public, which is interesting when you think about other high profile cases like the Jean-Benet Ramsey case, like everything was made everything was pretty transparent to the public, like as it was
Right.
happening, which I think is why the part of the reason why the case has never been solved, among so many other factors. But I I
Yeah.
I do think that, you know, I don't have a whole lot of faith in our current FBI.
No,
You know, the person running it is, I believe, not qualified.
it's a
Don't
mess.
don't drag me, but I do think that despite that, the fact that they are not releasing a whole lot of information to the public is a good sign, and it's at least a sign that they are taking this seriously. The last thing I want to bring up is is that Nancy Guthrie's neighbor actually recently came out and made a statement saying that she saw a suspicious, hunched over man in a baseball cap scoping out the area weeks before Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. This neighbor, her name is Aileen, Ail- Aileen, I think, Aline.
Eileen?
Eileen, I don't know, but maybe.
Are we Eileen?
I'm so bad with pronouncing names, clearly. So So Eileen said that the individual didn't fit the neighborhood. I have no idea what that means.
I
Appearing
think
to,
we know what it means.
yeah, yeah, yeah. She said that he appeared to intentionally be watching the street, moving very slowly and taking a long look at the house and the area, according to, I think she made the statement to Newsweek. So again, like, why did she wait so long to make a statement? And why did she make a statement to Newsweek? Um, like what did she get paid? I don't know. I don't know. I just, it seems fishy to me that she would wait so long to make a statement and that the statement
Well,
doesn't.
do we know that she didn't already tell the FBI and now she's deciding to tell a news station?
She may have, I mean, the sources that I read said that this was just something that it was a quote that was credited to Newsweek. So I don't know. I don't know if it's just that Newsweek took the quote from a local paper or if she talked to Newsweek. I couldn't really like
Think I
figure that out.
saw a video of her being interviewed. There might be,
Oh, was she? Okay.
I think so. Yeah. So there might have been multiple sources that she spoke with.
Yeah. So that's pretty much all that we know right now. So it's a, again, like by the time this comes out, there might be a whole new slew of information. And if there is, we will do an update for sure.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
there is actually one other thing that I heard about yesterday,
oh, what?
which is that, and I don't believe it's been confirmed or not, but there is a possibility that at some point around the same time that Nancy Guthrie's ring light went out, there was like a power outage, like
Oh,
someone had damaged an electric box,
um,
but they're not sure if it's there's talk about whether it's connected or not. Because if that's true, then yeah, maybe there isn't video footage because,
yeah,
there would be no power at the point. So
yeah,
I don't know. I think that's an interesting little tidbit that
yeah,
might end up being a bigger piece of the story down the line.
yeah, for sure. So yeah, so that's what we know from a factual, timeline standpoint.
Yep.
Oh, I'd love to move it over to the astrology and
Yeah.
see what that says.
Let's pull up the chart. So I did a couple charts for this, but we're going to mainly look at the chart for when she was last seen.
Hmm.
Okay. So Nancy Guthrie was last seen January 31st, 9:48 p.m., Tucson, Arizona. That's when she was dropped off at her house. The rising sign, the ascendant, represents the victim, and it's a Libra rising. So Venus represents Nancy in this chart. Venus is an Aquarius in the fifth house, and it's conjunct Mercury.
Okay.
So first off, the fifth house, and as we can see, there's a stellium in the fifth house. The fifth house can be about children, gambling, partying, random events, drug fueled events, romantic events, sex based crimes. So let's keep all of those ideas in our mind. In Aquarius, it's an air sign. So that's related to intellect, intelligence, often tech involved, electricity, which is what makes me feel like if it's true that an electric box in the neighborhood was destroyed, that it would be related.
Okay.
All right, so we've got that Venus representing Nancy. Let's look at the sun. It's also in the fifth house. The sun represents the heart of the matter
Hmm.
and also heart related matters. She had a heart condition, so that is true.
Yeah.
Children, again, are central when we have the sun. Children can be central when the sun is in the fifth house. A game turned fatal, like when I say game, it's kind of like, playing with fire kind of game. You know what I mean? It kind of makes me wonder. Well, all right, let me hold that thought. Let me keep going on the planet.
Okay.
All right, so then we've got Venus is conjunct Mercury in Aquarius, and Mercury in Aquarius is exalted. So that gives Venus a little bit of helps Venus out a bit, which there's several ways that could go, which I'll get to. But also when Mercury being conjunct the victim, it could be about like her being moved, right? Moved, possibly to different, more than one location, like moved around a bit, like not staying in one place.
Hmm.
Maybe it is related to the fact that Nancy Guthrie has a famous child,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Or that one of her children are involved somehow, which I don't necessarily want to promote that idea. I'm just speaking to the astrology.
Yeah.
Let's look at the moon. So the moon is in the 10th house, in Leo, and it is directly opposing Pluto in Aquarius. I think, first off, the moon in the 10th house and in Leo is speaking to this being a high profile case involving female authority figures, which what's funny in one of the texts that I use when I'm researching this stuff says that when the moon is in the 10th house, female authority figures like reporters or bosses can be involved. So again, high profile case, mother of a reporter.
Yep.
And also, like the moon in the 10th can just speak to high emotions around the case. Like
Mm.
this is a very emotional thing. Like, this is part of the reason why, I was nervous about doing this at first because I saw some astrologers talking about it and I saw people attacking them for talking about it, too soon. This is tacky, blah, blah, blah. And, I agree with that to an extent. Like, I don't know that I would just want to like post about it on threads, but, here we're taking a thoughtful approach to it. So I would hope that people would feel that how we are approaching this is more appropriate than maybe just, comments on threads.
Yeah. I mean, if I could just interject for a second,
Yeah.
just so everybody that's listening is aware, we don't get paid to do this.
No.
We make no money off of this. We both
No.
have day jobs. We are both the working poor. If there are commercials or advertisements that you hear during our podcast, that we don't get revenue from that. This is a passion project. So we have nothing to gain by doing this story. Like we really just want to talk about it because we feel like it's important. This fits the bill of what we do. Like we talk about unsolved cases, we talk about unexplained things, we talk like, you know what I mean? And this is
Right.
something that's happening right now. So why not talk about it? Like this
Exactly.
this podcast is meant for. So I just wanted to say that because I feel like that's part of the reason why people think it's tacky to talk about this like on social media because some people make money off posts that they make on social media or videos that they put out on YouTube or podcasts. So in a
Good point.
sense, like when they are talking about this stuff, they are monetizing off of it. And that can to some people feel a little icky. We are not monetizing off of it. I wish we were. I'm not gonna lie and say like I would never want to be monetized. Sorry, this is a whole tangent,
That's okay.
but I
Well,
feel like
yeah,
maybe this is something we should have said at the beginning, but like I'm glad we're saying it now. We are not benefiting from this in any way possible. So get
yeah,
that thought out of your mind if you think that we're like trying to trivialize or like monetize someone's suffering. That's not what's happening here.
yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
we're going the route of forensic astrology. We're not just looking at transits, we're looking at forensic astrology. There's a method to this.
Yeah.
So, anyway, yeah,
Sorry to get all hot.
it's all good. It's all good. All right. So, next planet, let's look at Jupiter, which is up there in the 10th house as well, in Cancer retrograde. Again, high profile case may involve a public figure. Jupiter in the sign of Cancer, the mother. Jupiter is in good condition, except for the fact that it's in retrograde, which makes me wonder if someone who witnessed, because often Jupiter can be about a witness, that when Jupiter, which just stationed to go direct, I think this morning, when it gets back to that degree, that 17 degrees of Cancer, but it is direct, I wonder if there will be either someone coming forward or possibly getting solved or a big break in the case. And that when Jupiter is at that degree again, but direct, that's going to be in April. I think
Okay.
early April, early to mid April. So I want to put that out there. Next up, I want to look at Pluto. Pluto is in the fourth house. Now, Pluto can speak to the psychology of the perpetrator and also something that I don't always look at because we don't look at active cases often is that it can kind of tell us a little bit about where maybe she might be. There's a couple there's a couple different ways to do that, but this is one of them and it can speak to it anyway. So Pluto in the fourth can indicate hidden rooms, basements, and secrets within a family.
Mm.
Yeah. Now let's go to the ruler of the seventh, which represents the perpetrator, and that is Aries. So Mars is the perpetrator, and Mars is also in the fifth house with the Sun, Venus, and Mercury, which I always have to say when you see them that close together, did they know each other? Did she know this person? It's very possible. But then again, I mean, they're in the same house, they're not conjunct, you know, but it's approaching that Venus. So I it I don't think it's random. You know, the fifth house can often be things that are random. This is not random. That's not what this is. So yeah, Mars is in the fifth house in Aquarius. And I also think that just emphasizes the tech nature of this, right? The ring camera going off. They were trying to obstruct it, but then eventually it turned off. Then there's the whole thing with her pacemaker. You know, that's
Yeah.
related to technology. And then if it's true that somebody destroyed an electrical box, then that would be also fit into this. But I do think that who did this is probably young,
Mhm.
younger,
Mhm.
and they are tech savvy.
Yeah.
And in Mars, it also makes me wonder, could they have military training in their background? Possibly. Something of note, I didn't want to pull up the chart because there wasn't, I know Nancy Guthrie's birthday. We don't know what time she was born, but I will say that her natal sun is at 7 degrees Aquarius.
Okay.
So the representation of the perpetrator is conjunct her sun. So I just think that that is interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah. Now, Neptune is right under the descendant. So that is going to speak to Neptune being important along with Mars. And, Neptune can be about confusion, deception, drugs. The suspect might have a drug problem or have mental issues. And then you have Saturn and Pisces in the sixth house, getting close to that conjunction with Neptune, but not quite, but it's within a few
Mhm.
degrees. And I think first off, Saturn and Pisces in the sixth can be talking about Nancy's poor health.
Okay.
But also Saturn can be authority figures. So it could be, the cops and the FBI, which I think makes sense because Saturn doesn't do so great in Pisces. And then you get Neptune involved. That's like messy. They're not getting along with each other, they're not on the same page. They're doing things differently. I think that's been pretty clear. And then also there's been a lot of the FBI has been messy about this. Like that whole thing with the apparently the two FBI agents that went to that woman's house. Did you speak about this part? I can't remember, but there was, and I think I just sent it to you earlier today. The woman who said that two FBI agents came to her house, but then she like didn't think that they were FBI agents, so she like called the cops and the FBI, and they were like, "No, those people are not with us." So she had like the cops at her house, like they were like waiting, and then
Well, yeah.
24 hour, huh?
Yeah, I did mention that. I didn't I'm glad you're bringing this up with a little more detail because I just said that there were people walking around the neighborhood claiming to be FBI agents that and that they weren't.
Well, they said they initially said they weren't, but then 24 hours after saying they weren't, they said, "Oh no, never mind. They do work for us."
That's messy. That's so
Yeah.
messy. I don't know if
Yeah.
I believe it. That's the thing. That's what I'm saying about like the current FBI. Like I
Yeah.
just don't trust anything that they're saying. I don't.
Me either.
But I do appreciate the fact that they are like keeping their cards close to their chest, but I don't know how much of that is like strategic and how much of it is them just not knowing what's going on
Right.
or like not having enough information.
Exactly.
I I
Uh,
don't I don't know. So that's why I didn't get too in the weeds with it because I was just kind of like,
right. It's just an example of the messiness
yeah,
involved with authority figures in this case.
yeah.
Um, so, where is Nancy? I wanted to, this is something we haven't done yet in an episode because we haven't done the active cases, but the location of the victim can sometimes be determined by Saturn's degrees.
Okay.
Saturn is at 28 degrees. So I'd be curious to know if and when she is found that she would be located either 28 miles from her home or 28 minutes from her home. So like 30 minutes.
Okay.
So let's remember that. And, if anything gets solved, we'll see if that's true or not. But then with Neptune so close to the descendant, there's probably going to be a lot of people that don't believe the outcome. Let's look at real quick the chart for when the ring camera is turned off
Oh yeah.
to see like the evolution of this story. So here, now that cluster of planets, that stellium is in the third house of communication and, you know, technology, tech stuff in the, Aquarius third house feels very techy. And so this feels like, oh, this is when the electricity went out, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, tech down in the neighborhood. Third house is neighborhoods as well. The moon can be a secondary signifier for the victim. And here the moon is now in the ninth house, which is like long distance. So, or being taken to somewhere you've never been before. So it feels like the wheels are moving here.
Yeah.
Now let's look at the chart of the pacemaker going down, which wasn't that much later. So the pacemaker failure happened at 2:28 a.m. Now it's like the moon is moving towards the eighth house of death. The chart ruler here is Jupiter. Jupiter in Cancer is in the eighth house of death. So before we look at fixed stars and the asteroids, I just want to put a little theory out there that, it's hard to believe that she would still be alive. And I'm not sure that I believe she is or could be, but
Yeah.
maybe the saving grace for her was like she didn't have to endure, I don't know, torture or whatever. Like maybe her heart gave out. Like they wanted to hold her for ransom, but she might have died on them and they, passed away
Yeah.
and, setting her free a little bit, right? Like sooner than later, maybe dying of a heart attack and not necessarily on at the hands of them.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so that's just a little theory I have. But let's look at the fixed stars first and then the asteroids.
Okay.
Okay. First off, we have a fixed star called Bose or Boss, BOS. It is within a degree of Mars, so it's conjunct Mars. Boss is about sharp intelligence, military aptitude, and strong analytical skills. So remember, Mars represents the perpetrator. So again, this like skill, aptitude,
Yeah.
military.
Yeah, you
Uh,
had said something about that.
yeah. Next, we have a fixed star called Albali, and it is conjunct the sun. Remember the heart of the matter. This fixed star can indicate cruelty, death, but also sometimes it bestows good luck. So, yeah,
Hmm.
there's that. Now we have another fixed star called
I was
WASAT,
okay.
and it's conjunct Jupiter in Cancer. And this fixed star can indicate familial violence and family conflicts can be part of the story.
Oh my gosh, that's so wild because you were just talking about that too.
I know. I know.
Mm.
Yeah. So when we get to our theories at the end, I'll divulge all my ideas. So next,
Yeah.
let's talk about the asteroids. I only have a few here, so we're almost done. This asteroid, the first asteroid I'm going to look at is called Osiris, and it is conjunct Uranus in the eighth house. Now, Uranus isn't a prominent planet in this chart, although it is actually it is sextile Saturn, which is about authority figures, but also Saturn rules death. So, and Uranus is in the eighth house of death. So maybe it is more prominent than I'm giving it credit for. But Osiris is related to destruction and dismemberment.
Mm.
Yeah. All right. So this next asteroid, I'm gonna butcher it. It's Hammurabi, Hammurabi,
Oh.
Hammurabi, and it and it
Keep
is
saying it until it sounds right.
I just yeah, Hammurabi, Hammurabi. I'll have
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Hammurabi. I'll have the
yeah.
Hammurabi.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. Sounds like a root vegetable. I'll have a Hammurabi
Yeah.
sesame sauce.
I'm gonna get the pickled Hammurabi kimchi.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Um, well, Hammurabi is conjunct Mars, the perpetrator. And this asteroid is about retribution and like an eye for an eye type of crime.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And the last one is Orestes, which I believe we've seen before.
Okay.
And it is conjunct the ascendant. So it's, you know, telling us it's about Nancy, but it's about kind of like the whole thing. And Orestes is related to family violence and mental illness.
Hmm.
So,
Going on
yeah.
behind the scenes.
What?
What do you think's
Well,
going? What do you think? What do you
so I
think?
think that the person that did this, they definitely were staking it out. They knew what they were doing. This was carefully planned. Let's pretend it's not related to anything except for let's say that okay, nothing to do with the family. Obviously, there's some things pointing to that. So let's say, what if it has nothing to do with the family? Then
Mhm.
yes, I would think it would be about money. This something I forgot to say was the second house is also ruled by Venus. The second house is about abduction. So you want to look at the second house when there's an abduction
Oh,
and
okay.
it's ruled by Venus. And so I do think that, yes, it could be about money. Maybe one of those ransom notes is real,
Thinking about that.
especially because Mercury's conjunct Venus. And so it's like contracts or, yeah, like communication. So, but then I think that, maybe she passed away in the process and they stopped communicating because they're like, well, like now we just have a dead body. Maybe it's better to not do anything
Yeah.
and just like, you know, so there's that. But then also like with all the family stuff, I just said contracts, like they might have been hired. I don't know why, but the whole like retribution, eye for an eye thing, I found that creeps me out.
Yeah. The other thing too just that complicates things and just makes it so much easier to like actually pinpoint who it could be is the fact that, you know, not for nothing, but she's the mother of a famous TV personality, someone who is a reporter and a journalist and also was a lawyer, right? Was she a lawyer?
Yeah. Hmm.
So, like, this could be like the perpetrator could have something to do with the family, or they could have something to do with somebody who maybe felt like they were wronged, or, you know, maybe, maybe Savannah Guthrie like helped get somebody convicted of something, and and it was a family member who was the perpetrator of this, like that could
Hmm.
also be it. But like, I'm not saying I think that that's what it is. I'm just saying like when it comes to the possibilities, it's so much broader just based on the fact that Savannah Guthrie is a famous personality who
Right.
who has spent her adult professional life being in news media, and I just think that when you are in that field, especially like after being in the law field, I just feel like that has the potential to create the I'm trying to be really careful about how I say things, but like I just feel like working in those fields, there's a higher likelihood of pissing people off and making enemies than a lot of other fields of work and a lot of other careers. Does that make sense? Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. So I'm just saying
Well,
like they're like it could be somebody in her family or it could be could be anybody that is just familiar with Savannah Guthrie and feels like they've been wronged by her in some way, or feels like they are trying to get back at her about something, or, you know, I don't know.
Well, I've got two things to say about that.
Yeah.
First, Nancy Guthrie was the first person to interview the Epstein victims, like in a high profile television thing. And in the Epstein files, it's been revealed that he was really upset about at Savannah Guthrie. Just making a note of that. I know he's gone, allegedly. I mean, he is probably, but I think that's a stretch. But
I don't think he did it to himself.
no, absolutely not. I know for sure he definitely didn't. That's another episode. I've been looking at that chart. Anyway, I digress. I just think it's interesting that yes, there was like he was did not like he was like that bitch Savannah Guthrie said something like that in one of the emails. I know that. The other thing is that there was I don't know when it was earlier this year or sometime last year there was a segment that Savannah Guthrie did where her mother was in it and they showed her mother like at home and like talked about Arizona where they grew up and it was all about like how happy they are and all this stuff and so her mother was introduced to the public through this interview or TV special or whatever it was that she did
Yeah.
um and so if it's not family related then it would make sense that the person learned about this and started thinking about this when he saw her on TV because television is also fifth house.
Yep.
So,
Well,
yeah.
it's an active case. We're gonna see what happens, you know? Like
Yeah,
I mean, and I do think that this is going to get solved.
I do
Um,
too.
it's just a matter of when, you know? So,
I'm looking at April or at least something big, well, between now and April, really.
yeah.
So, yeah, I really hope they find her. It would be a miracle if she's still alive. I mean, there's a version of this where that's a possibility. You look at the chart, there's some dignity there when it comes to the victim. But then again, when we looked at the chart progression and we saw, when the heart monitor went off, the chart ruler was in the eighth house of death. So
Yeah.
that could also just be saying that was ultimately what killed her was not having that, right? Or related to her heart. I do think that if she passed, my hope is that if she did pass away, it was sudden and it wasn't of their because of any violence. It was that because she didn't have her thing or whatever, and she passed away on them. Their plan was spoiled because of it. That would mean, that would speak to there being luck or some beneficial, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So at the very least, I hope that she went quickly and that, yeah, it wasn't at the hands of whoever did this.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I yeah.
Well,
Well, that's
I don't
it.
know that we didn't solve it because we're in the process of, but I think, we did a good job of looking at all the evidence.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, we're gonna revisit it when we hear more information. We're gonna
Oh,
look
yeah.
at more. So such as, you know, such as the case with the investigation being ongoing, I think that our conversation is also going to be ongoing.
Totally.
So yeah, but I do think that it is I agree with you. I think we're going to hear something soon, and I do think this is a case that will be solved. All right, well that concludes this episode. I think the one thing about this podcast that is difficult the one part about recording this podcast that is difficult is that it's really hard to end it, because how do you end a podcast about things we that are unknown and unsolved, that you've just spent like an hour plus talking about, like,
You say to be continued.
yeah, continued. I mean, on Unsolved Mysteries, they always had this little like voiceover at the end. It was like, if you know anything about any of the stories discussed tonight, call, 1-800 unsolved or whatever. That it was.
Wouldn't that have been the best job to be one of the people that worked in that little call room?
Yeah. Maybe that's what we should. Maybe we should get like a Gmail account going and just be like, if you know anything about anything, or if you want to write in about anything that you want us to talk about on the podcast, like, email us at astrologyofthe unknown@gmail.com. You know what I mean?
Well, I believe my email is attached to this because I have had people reach out.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, which I
People,
won't discuss. Yeah, here you know about it, but
yeah. Well, shout
more
out.
to be revealed around that as well.
All right, we'll see you next time, folks.
Hasta la vista.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.